January 2023 saw an eBay bidding war erupt over an original Mr Blobby costume. The post was originally asking for 30 quid for it, but that soon exploded to ridiculous numbers. But before we go any further, I just want to draw everyone's attention to this description for this thing. Mr Blobby is trademarked and therefore subject to copyright. This costume/prop can only be used for personal home display use. So we can only assume the people bidding on this were doing so to fulfill a very niche fetish they've always had.
Plop, 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 plop.
At the end of it all, the first winner had bid $62,000 before realising what they were doing with their life and backed out of it. And from what I can see, the owner of the suit is going to wait a while to decide what they're going to do with the costume. So, watch this space to snap up a piece of television history. You know the UK is currently going through a cost of living crisis, yeah? But this just shows the nostalgic sentimentality this character can still elicit. And I admit it, upon seeing all this going on, I went down memory lane and checked out some old Mr Blobby memorabilia. And that's where I saw this retro writing set and found myself thinking, who's this guy? And then I remembered, he had a son! He had a wife! Suddenly, I found myself feverishly researching other Blobby lore, and before I knew it, I was falling down a rabbit hole of forgotten factoids, and you're all along for the ride, there is no turning back now! But before all that, I've recently had a look at my stats, and I found most of my viewers are from America. Alright, and I think for their benefit, we need to explain what the hell Mr Blobby was. For that, we have to go back. All the way back to those fabled times called the 90s. The 90s was the heyday for Saturday night light entertainment fun. Variety shows that parents and kids could watch together. And arguably, the king amongst them was a man called Noel Edmonds with Noel's House Party. The best way to describe it was organised chaos. Hosted from Stately Manor in the fictional village of Crinkley Bottom, this is some high-tier comedy! The segments included The Gotcha, where a celebrity would have a prank played on them, NTV, where a member of the public would arrange a hidden camera in their living room to surprise and then humiliate a loved one, and of course, regular gunjings. Not even the audience was safe! And through Noel's house party, Mr Blobby was born. He came into this world, quite aptly, during Spooktober. 7 foot tall, a rictus smile across his face, with a modulated voice just saying, Blobby, over and over. See, when Baby Groot does it, it's cute. When this thing does it, you think you're gonna die. The original genesis for Mr Blobby was as a fake children's character that would then interact with a celebrity and be as chaotic and as annoying as possible to get on their wick. Then at the end, they'd reveal that Noel was the man inside the suit all along. The target was appropriately shocked, held back the urge to punch Noel right in his beard, and was given the Gotcha trophy for being a good sport. As can be seen here with Wayne Sleep receiving our golden dildo. By the next season, Noel had to give up using Mr Blobby for the bit. It was hard to keep it a secret, and the victim would clock something when this 7 foot pink nightmare came lumbering up towards them. So, on the 23rd of October 1993, Mr Blobby became self-aware. He detached himself from Noel, gained sentience and became his own character. And this is where the lore began. Okay, here we go. Turns out, actual details about Mr Blobby's backstory is pretty thin on the ground. It's like his creators didn't plan for him to get this popular. That's just bad world building right there. All I could find were the basics. Male, nationality British, other stuff we can fill in ourselves, eyes green, height... Too much height. Then there's stuff I had to figure out on my own. For example, age. Now, he has to be at least 17 because that's the age you can get a driver's licence in the UK. And we know that there is no bridge too far because he's got a car. Now, that's in human years. I can't say what that is in blobby years. And that leads us into... just what the hell is he? Usually, mascots and children's characters at least imply gesture towards a species. Hedgehog, mouse, the one-eyed metallic mutants that are clearly meant to represent the only beings that will be left alive after humanity finally destroys itself. One starting point could be to compare to real-life animals. But unlike this guy who looks like a picture of Elon Musk's inner child, Mr. Blobby was always energetic, expressive, and gesticulating. Usually right through the wall! But then in the same season, we got a massive lore dump. For the season finale, they did a novelty NTV in Mr. Blobby's home, which is where we got to meet Mrs. Blobby, the power behind the throne. And yes, I did check out the fact sheet provided by the Mr. Blobby collection. It was jolly handy to find out some interesting facts, such as Mrs. Blobby's least favourite person is Jack Whitehall for slagging off her husband. Mrs. Blobby is a ride-or-die chick. Do not mess with her man. And her pet peeve is cleaning up after Mr. Blobby and Baby Blobby. Oh, for God's sake. Look, I know it was the 90s, but that was the era of girl power, which, by the way, is greener and more sustainable than fossil fuel. And yes, you heard that right. Baby Blobby. How many of you are there? So Mr. Blobby procreated. Mr. Blobby. So his species is a nondescript blobby race where anyone and everything can be blobbified.
Did I see a blobby fish there?
Oh God! And they all originate from Blobbyland. So, where in the world is Blobbyland? It seems to be somewhere in Crinkly Bottom, though I did see in some media they just use these names interchangeably. There's been many incarnations of Blobbyland. Probably the most famous was at Cricket St Thomas in Somerset, which was a theme park based on Noel's house party and Mr. Blobby. What could possibly go wrong? Mr. Blobby's house was the centrepiece, and it was made to look like a village cottage called Dunblobbin. Inside, the decor was very similar to what we see during the NTV segment, and hey, no reason he might have redecorated. At this point, he was an established celebrity in the UK, so let's say it's the same place. If you're interested about the story behind the theme park, just type Blobbyland into YouTube and you'll find plenty of videos going into the details about Blobbygate. And urban explorers going through the abandoned Dunblobbin before it was destroyed in 2014. Although not everything was destroyed, a papier-mâché toilet was rescued and was then installed into an art gallery. Yes! Does anyone know which gallery it was in? Because I need to see this. I need to see the blobby toilets. So, he had his own home. During a time you could own your own home. But he was over at Manor House a lot. At least every Saturday. And even had his own room there. Maybe Noel set that up for whenever Mr. and Mrs. Blobby are having a disagreement. Or maybe he's closer to the Blobbies than we think. Maybe they're doing a polycule... No, we're not going down that road. So he lives in Dunblobbin, in Blobbyland, a subset of Crinkly Bottom, which, if you follow the logic of the theme park, is twinned with Toyland. So Noddy is also a part of the Blobbyverse. And I decided to ignore the Mr. Blobby video game where he's living in that townhouse. It was mostly a gimmick game, so it has elements that don't fit into the rules of Mr. Blobby's character, like the fog that... Oh God! Over the years, Mr. Blobby has been experiencing a nostalgic revival, but I doubt he'll ever be as popular as he was in the 90s. Which is probably for the best. 90s kids either remember him fondly, or... Noel's house party was already chaotic, and then you release this eldritch horror, and it somehow ramped it up. He truly was like Marmite. Oh, hang on. Marmite is an yeast extract spread famous for its strong smell and taste, which led to the marketing campaign "You either love it or you hate it." That was so popular, it ended up in common utterance. Shorthand for loving something or not hating yourself and your body and wanting to punish it for its sins. Okay, I'm being hyperbolic. Just like I've been through this whole video. I've been shady, but if I ever did meet the original Mr. Blobby, I'd probably give him a little kiss on his canonically bald head. While rewatching these clips, some of Mr. Blobby's antics got a genuine laugh out of me. I'm sorry, I'm weak, okay? So what is next for Mr. Blobby? In 2018, Noel Edmonds said that he was a washed-up alcoholic living in Marbella, but I would not believe anything that man says. In the same year, he said he received a cab license from the mayor of Crinkly Bottom. Noel! Mate! You are the mayor of Crinkly Bottom! Here is a picture of you at the opening of the Crinkly Bottom theme park in mayoral regalia, holding baby Blobby, who at this point I have to assume is your godchild. After that, Mr. Blobby dipped his toe into politics. No, yes, I'm not kidding. Here he is on Loose Women, talking about Brexit.
Oh, do you think Theresa May will still be there by Christmas?
No.
I love living in such a normal country. So maybe the Blobby mythos is not yet complete. After all, I didn't get to talk about the international versions of House Party and their Mr. Blobbies. Is this the same Mr. Blobby? Or are there even more Blobbies out there that we don't know about? And that brings me back to that writing set. Who was that schoolboy Blobby Mr. Blobby was waving to? They're too big to be baby Blobby, and you don't see them in any other merchandise. So who is this? His brother? His nephew? His love child? Did Mr. Blobby have a second family we never knew about? What other secrets are there left to be uncovered in the Blobby lore that we... Hello?
Hello there.
Noel Edmonds? What?
I've heard you've been poking your nose around where it doesn't belong. Mr. Blobby, you know what to do.
What? Oh god, no! Why are there so many teeth? No!